Good afternoon, RB. Thank you once again for allowing me to update you on the past year for the BMA in Scotland. Today, I want to share what our BMA Scotland team has achieved for our doctors and medical students, with a heartfelt thank you to all our branch of practice chairs and our fantastic BMA staff. It is a real pleasure for me to serve such a great team. I also want to reflect on some wider issues which are causing negative impacts upon Scotland's NHS. But it's only right that I start with doctors' pay. Last year, through a tough negotiation, Scotland's resident doctors achieved a deal towards full pay restoration. But more progress must be made, and I'm pleased to report that further negotiations are now underway. And frankly, it's a scandal that a lack of workforce planning has caused bottlenecks and unemployment for our resident doctors. So we are campaigning very hard for an expansion of resident training places. Also last year, our consultants achieved a substantial pay rise, ensuring that Scotland remains as competitive as the rest of the UK. The lesser offer accepted by our SAS doctors, whilst underwhelming, did include a commitment to a process for our specialty doctors to progress to specialists. But 2 weeks ago, we were angered and disappointed that ministers have reneged shamefully on agreements previously made with our consultant and SAS doctors. Promised negotiations for this year's uplift were abruptly ended by the Scottish Government with the imposition of the paltry DDRB recommendations. This was an act of staggering bad faith. We will support our consultants and SAS committees in whatever next steps they decide to take. For some time, Scotland's GPs have felt entirely left behind by the pay process. With escalating cost pressures on our surgeries, on the back of a failed 2018 contract, the position is now desperate for Scottish general practice. RB, I will say more later about how our GPs are responding. For now, I want to express my huge admiration for the way our Scottish members have mobilised collectively to demand pay that truly values the worth of doctors. Beyond pay, we continue to argue that patient safety must not be compromised by any expansion of AAs and PAs. Recognising racism in the NHS, we surveyed our members and set out an action plan to begin to tackle this problem. On fairer representation, we set a target of 50% of Scotland's BMA committee chairs and deputy chairs being women by 2030. We are also acting upon the concerns of our medical students whose training is compromised by overcrowded medical schools. RB, I said I'd return to our GPs. General practice funding has been eroded so severely that there is now a funding gap of some £290 million. That's why the Scottish GP Committee is demanding full funding restoration. This has put the Scottish Government on notice that unless they right this wrong, our GPs will pursue a course of dispute and potential disruptive action. Patients deserve better, and I believe that the people of Scotland will stand with our surgeries and demand better. Last Christmas, I warned that our health service would struggle to see out another year with its founding principles remaining intact. Our NHS in Scotland should be free at the point of need. But through research we commissioned from DIFLI Partnership, I can reveal that almost a third of Scots say either they or someone in their household have had to use private healthcare within the last 2 years. Our survey showed that the majority are forced to do so, as waiting lists are simply too long. They just can't get the timely care that they need. And it will only get worse, because 43% of those surveyed feel they are now more likely to go private. It is now abundantly clear that Scotland has been divided into those who can afford private health care and those languishing on ever longer NHS waiting lists. Now, I don't believe that anyone made an active choice to pursue this path towards a private health service. Rather, it is a failure to get to grips with an evolving population and its health needs. But be in no doubt, the NHS is dying before our very eyes. Yet the chance to save our NHS remains. If we want to provide timely care to all, which is free at the point of need, then immediate action is required. Now, we did ask the Scottish Government for a national conversation, but we were largely ignored. So, instead, NHS reform must now happen, and it must be based on 4 key principles: shifting the balance of care into the community, a workforce plan setting out how we'll recruit and retain the doctors and other staff our population needs, a long-term focus on prevention, and a more mature approach to measuring our NHS. The impact of the Scottish Government repeatedly ignoring the warnings made by the BMA and many others is clear. Patients are suffering, unable to access the care they need when they need it, or having to use their own hard-earned money to go private. RB, you know this is unacceptable. Everyone knows it is unacceptable. And that's why BMA Scotland will continue to shine a light on the dire state and worsening position of the Scottish NHS. And it's why we will go on fighting for our members, for our patients, and for a better future for Scotland's health service.